should have some printed information about various statutes in your arbitration manual. And that information is really good. It's probably a little more information than you even need because it's going to have some statutes that you guys won't use as part of arbitration, but it's just kind of an overview. So what I usually do is I usually do a PowerPoint, but as I said, my cord's not quite long enough. So I just printed the PowerPoint out and thought we'd go through it here. And what we'll do is we'll start on that, and when our guest gets here, we'll just take a break and we'll let her give you her information, and then we'll finish up with this, okay? Basically, first of all, it's just as simple as this. Criminal responsibility is the main thing that we got to look at for kids. A lot of programs require that the kids come in for an arbitration hearing, and that's the first time that anybody has any contact with them. And the arbitrator at that point is having to find out, does this kid even admit that they did anything wrong, okay? Our program is different in that we have the kids come here for an initial appearance prior to coming to an arbitration hearing. So they will come here and they'll meet with Ray here. And so Ray is going to be able to find out, are they admitting that they did something or not, okay? So you guys typically won't have kids that show up and say, I didn't do it. Although, I will tell you that even though Ray does try to talk to them about that, sometimes between their initial appearance and when they come to see you for that hearing, they get scared and they start thinking, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble, and they might come in and say, I didn't do it. And at that point, you know, obviously you guys wouldn't be able to give them sanctions if they're not admitting they did anything. So, so I included information here just to give y'all a general bit of information about criminal responsibility. The one thing that most kids try to say when they're trying to say that they didn't do something is they say, I was with them, but I didn't do it. I was with them, but I didn't do it. Shoplifting, that's the main thing. I was there, but I didn't take anything. And so criminal responsibility, the main thing in South Carolina is a little phrase called the hand of one is the hand of all, okay? And basically, all that means is everybody that participates in the crime, whether you're the lookout, you're standing there as the person is putting something in their pocket, maybe they're taking it for themselves, and maybe you're not going to get any benefit out of it, but you're standing there and you're blocking the view of the camera, or you're trying to make sure that no clerk is watching, you're still guilty, okay? If you send the text message that says, meet me outside the school at 3:15, and some kid comes to meet you there and you have somebody else there to beat them up, it doesn't matter if you touched the kid. If you were responsible for them being there, then you're part of that. So the hand of one is the hand of all. And a lot of our kids don't understand that. So you may have some kids that come in and they start to question whether they did something. And when you say, well, now under our law, if you were there and you were part of it, then you're just as guilty as if you did everything. In other words, the getaway driver, he's guilty of the armed robbery just by sitting outside the gas station. So a lot of times that is enough for the kids to say, okay, all right, then I know I did something. In South Carolina, we also have accessory, which is somebody who didn't actually participate in the crime. They don't have to be there when the crime took place. But what they did was they either helped somebody before the crime took place, knowing that something was going to happen, like they provided them with a weapon, or they gave them the code to somebody's alarm system so they could break into the house. They gave them a key, that kind of thing. That's accessory before the fact. Accessory after the fact is they weren't part of the crime at all, but they either hid something for the person afterwards, or they did something, maybe gave them an alibi that wasn't true. They did something afterwards that made it so that they're part of the crime. And you will not see a whole lot of accessories in arbitration, because typically accessories are after really serious type felonies. But there are sometimes accessories with burglary crimes, okay? A lot of times, mainly you see accessories with murders and attempted murders and things like that, but there are some with burglaries, and we do put burglaries into the arbitration program sometimes, of course, depending on the severity of it, of course. Crimes of interest to arbitration, the very first one I start out with is assault and battery. And I gave you 2 slides on it, and I don't want to confuse you with them, but the law has changed a bit over the years. We used to have the common law, which is law that came over from England, and it was just known to be a crime, but it was never put on the books, and assault and battery was one of those. There was simple assault and assault and battery, and they were separate crimes, but they didn't have an actual number in our statute book. And so the first slide has the elements for really what was the simple assault, and that was an unlawful attempt or threat to injure another with the intent to injure and the present ability to carry it out. It did not require any touching at all, okay? The second slide there is about assault and battery under the common law, which was called simple assault and battery, and it was the same exact elements of the assault, but with an actual touching, a contact. Under our law now, both of those crimes are considered assault and battery third degree, which is the lowest degree of an assault and battery. Does that make sense? I'm not sure exactly why they incorporated them into two, because a lot of states do still have them separate, but it does say that when you read the statute, it basically gives the elements and then says, or they actually touched them. And a lot of times we do have people that say, but it says assault and battery and I didn't hit anybody. Exactly. But you said you were going to, and you raised your hand to, or something happened and a teacher stopped you or something. And so yes, you're still guilty of that. And sometimes that is a question that comes up with these kids. The next thing that, thank goodness, we've not been seeing as much of lately, we used to see this a lot, is threatening a public or school official. And in this one, the person threatens to take the life or inflict bodily harm to a public official, a teacher, a principal, or the immediate family of a public official, teacher, or principal. And in this case, a public official is considered a police officer. That's normally who the public official would be. And the threat can be written, it can be verbal, it can be through email. The only thing it can't be is it can't be, if I told Denise, I'm going to hit that resource officer tomorrow, and then she went and told everybody that I said that, I still haven't committed that crime because I haven't communicated it to him or in some way that he would definitely find out. Like if I put it in an email to him, I'm going to get you if you charge me, or I'm going to get you for charging me, something like that, then that would make it more, okay, I said it to him. Because otherwise, we're looking at a hearsay problem there, because we've got, I said it to Denise, but what if Denise didn't hear exactly what I said and she repeats it a little bit different? It could mean the difference between whether I really said I was going to hit you or I just said I wanted to hit you, you know. So that sometimes becomes a little bit of an issue, but we do not, thank goodness, have a lot of kids threatening people at schools anymore, because we used to. Used to be probably, gosh, maybe once or twice a month I'd get a charge where a kid got charged with something and they would just immediately say, I'm gonna hit you, I'm gonna get you, you know. I think the most recent one I had was a kid who was being placed under arrest and said to an officer, when I get out I'm gonna kill you. Well, obviously that's a threat, is directly to the officer. Did he have any present ability to handle that or to do that? No, because he had his hands behind his back. So it's not a regular assault and battery either, but it clearly fit this statute because you have to say the words in this one, and that's what he did. And
I don't mean to get off case here, but so what's the difference between that threat and the verbal threat of property damage or blowing the school up or shoot, you know, that type of stuff?
Different types of crime. We've got cases where, and they fall under usually unlawful communication, which is the actual next next slide, where we've got kids, and now it's mainly social media, where they're posting things on Instagram, and Snapchat and Facebook, and they're posting stuff like, don't wear red tomorrow, it's going to be a bad thing if you wear red. You know, or tomorrow if you're wearing yellow, you better duck, you know. And so these kids are putting that stuff out there, and then everybody at school is seeing it, because once one person sees it, they call every friend they have, they make a screenshot of it or however they do that, and they send it to everybody they know. So even when the kid takes it down, that threat's already been made. So it's a different threat, but it's still a threat. If you threaten to so for unlawful communication, it used to be unlawful use of telephone. And thank goodness they updated that. And so it means through the telephone or through any electronic means you use words or language that are profane, vulgar, rude, lascivious, or indecent, or you communicate an obscene, vulgar, indecent, profane, suggestive, or immoral message. You threaten an unlawful act with an intent to coerce, intimidate, or harass another person, or you contact somebody repeatedly and you just won't leave them alone, or you fail to hang up after you've called somebody, or you allow an electronic device under your control to be used for that type thing. And that normally is with a telephone, because normally if you allow it, it's that you've given somebody your phone and allowed them to use it, even a cell phone. But those threats typically fall under that. Now, a threat to damage something of someone's would not really fall under that, but there are other things that we could look at, like we could look at whether that's harassment, or whether that's, or whether it, you know, I'm going to throw a rock through your window and I've got the rock in my hand. We're looking at that to say, is there something that we can charge this person with? And it wouldn't be making a threat to the person, but it would be to their property. So we would be looking at that.
But if they don't write it or verbally communicate it in some kind of way.
Under this unlawful communication, it wouldn't qualify. But if they make that threat some other way, then we would look at it and try to find something that it fit. There's not an actual statute that says you can't threaten to throw a rock at somebody's car. But if you are threatening to throw a rock at somebody's car and we think you've got the present ability to take those steps and you're making progress toward doing that, then there are things we can look at. One of the things we can look at is harassment. If you've been, you know, you have to be warned with harassment, leave this person alone, and then you say again, well, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get your car, I'm going to tear up your house, I'm going to do something to you, then we've got enough there that we could go after them for that.
So you examine the actual circumstance, or, yeah, and then you kind of see where it...
What we do with a lot of our cases, we deal a lot with school resource officers, but we also deal with regular officers as well. And we have the type policy in this office that if you've got any question about whether you've got a charge, call me. Let me look up anything I can find on the internet to try to find the charge it fits into, and we'll try to go from there. And so we do try to help officers in making a determination of what charges can actually be made. Petty larceny. Petty larceny is the taking or carrying away the property of another with the intent to permanently deprive that person of the value of that property. And the property has to be valued at $2,000 or less. Anything over $2,000 is considered grand larceny, which is just the very next one. It's the same exact thing, but just the amount is different. And I'm gonna let her get settled in just a second, and I'll switch over with her. But one that you will see a good bit of, you will see a lot of grand larceny, and sometimes it will say grand larceny auto, because most vehicles are worth at least $2,500, so you're going to be looking at a grand larceny there when they've stolen a car. And some of those charges do end up going into arbitration. You'll look at a lot of petty larcenies. A lot of phones get stolen from schools, surprisingly, right? I mean, most phones are locked and you can't use them, but some do, and some are not locked. And so we do see a lot of that taken out of lockers and even out of teachers' desk drawers. We also see a good many use of vehicles without owner's consent. The element for that would be taking the vehicle of another without consent or permission, but there has to be no intent to permanently deprive the owner of the vehicle. This usually happens when a kid goes joyriding in mom's car, daddy's car, or grandparents' car, aunt or uncle's car, or something like that, where they're not taking it to make it their own. They're taking it because they think they can get away with it and get it back home before anybody sees it. And so that's use of vehicle. And usually when you have that case, you have a parent that comes to the hearing and is very angry with their child about what they've done and what they're putting them through. So you usually have a parent who's very willing to tell you what kind of things they think their child needs for a sanction. Am I right, Denise?
Oh, yeah.
And then we have strong arm robbery, which is the taking or carrying away the property of another with the intent to deprive that person of the value. and there has to be an additional element of force or intimidation. So it's not just the petty larceny, it's the I shoved you and stole your wallet, or I threatened you and said I'm going to beat you up if you don't give me your wallet. That's the strong arm robbery. It's known as strong arm robbery, and that came from the common law, and the difference is that there is no weapon, okay, and you don't even say you have a weapon, you just threaten the person or knock them down and take it, okay? I'm going to stop off there because shoplifting is one of the ones that you're going to see a whole lot of, and I'm just going to take my break here, and we'll go ahead and start with our guest because she's driven a long way to get here. Come on in. Come on in. We just went ahead and started.
I'm glad you did. No. There was an 8-car pileup on 77.
Well,
and I sat in traffic for 45 minutes before. I was like, I don't know what else to do. I can't go around. I mean, I can't even get to 21 to go the back way.
There's nothing you can do on 77. And we were all just saying, oh, 77.
I'm so sorry. This is not my character. I was mortified.
This is not a problem.
Okay.
But we want to welcome you. And,
Thank you.
And we have these fine people here for arbitration training tonight. This is our second night of arbitration training.
Perfect.
And I know you know Ray.
Yes.
But Ray has pneumonia.
That's what you left a message. I felt so bad.
Ray has pneumonia, and he had pneumonia last year and has it again this year. He's not in real good shape right now, so we are just covering for him today. So they have not had Ray explain it to them the process of actually conducting their hearing yet. So we're getting all the other basics out of the way.
And I'm going to talk just about restorative justice, and I've got some
we've got this whole thing
exercises,
going.
and so the theory behind it, and that type of thing.
That's right.
So,
And so you guys, I want you to welcome this nice lady. She is from the Department of Juvenile Justice down in Columbia. She helps us with a lot of things. Ray goes to quarterly meetings, I believe, with her. And so she's really up on all the different things that we can do throughout the state. She provides a lot of information to Ray at those meetings, and I think she sends him a lot of emails too.
unfortunately, I do.
So this is Stacy Bryant, and like I said, she is with DJJ in Columbia. And arbitration, as you all know, is our program, but it came from them, and they are responsible for giving us a lot of feedback on it, and they also give us money for it. And so we thank them a lot.
Yeah, we have arbitration now in all 16 circuits. It's been going in the state since 1983. So, and then everybody trickled on later on, you know, and so we're very excited.
And Catherine has been to talk to them about arbitration, and Catherine is
she's the guru.
I mean, she is the guru.
She started, I mean, well, Susan Alford, Jenny Barr, Catherine in the 11th Circuit started, and actually I am an arbitrator, have been for the past 13 years through the 11th Circuit. So I know I've been through this training. I've done the training. I've done hearing. So it's a phenomenal program. So
it is.
Great.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
and
you.
Do you need any?
I am. Do you guys want to get up and go to the bathroom or get a snack? I don't know if I can just offer them your snacks.
Absolutely. Here's snacks.
I set up real quick.
All right.
Because I have
minutes, and I'm gonna pause this and start it with the next section so that it'll be a separate section.